give us some deck lists, and she...
Don't hit the table.
What? No. Okay, so here we are. We're going to be on this thing now. We've got Dave Shiels and Jacob Van Lunen. It appears like...
Dave's no stranger either to the to recent tournament success.
Dave Shiels is playing.
He did pretty well
Ballblade.
he did pretty well at a recent GP, where there happened to be 32 Jaces in the top 8.
Yeah, JVL is playing. I think the same deck we saw last round that from
looks like a Darkblade list, or a this is the
no Squadron Hawks.
No Squadron Hawk. So it still can be called Darkblade because there's no Caw, but
I'm telling you, after
Darker Blade.
After this weekend, man, everyone's gonna see what's up with the Stoneforge Mystic.
We'll talk about that.
We'll get into it. I'm dying to get into it, but
so to sum up our storyline talk, they did a fantastic job of stretching Phyrexia all the way through storylines that you didn't even realize they were connected to. Like when you read Mirrodin, you didn't even realize really exactly that Phyrexia had anything to do with it. There was like one line in it about Phyrexian oil. It didn't even say Phyrexian oil. It just said something about black oil or glistening oil. And I remember going, oh, what does that mean? And then you read the rest of the book and you forget about it. It's just this kind of subtle thing, and they just don't even reference it. The whole block, the whole thing, all the way up until,
That's so awesome.
Scars of Mirrodin. Guess what? That little line that was in the first Mirrodin novel actually was significant. So they did a really good job of that. And unfortunately, I think for the recent novels, they've really been driving it into the ground. From what I hear, I
heard that the new one isn't that bad, though.
Really, I've heard the new one's terrible. It's got like 1 star on Amazon or
something.
And, it doesn't make sense, I've heard. So.
It was from somebody who likes magic, though, so I was really hopeful that...
Yeah, well, I know, I think, wasn't Noyan reading it? I don't know.
I think it might have been Noyan.
Right. So, anyway, if you are interested in reading those, start with The Brothers' War. The Thran actually came out. The book, The Thran, even though it's a prequel, actually came out after the Brothers' War, the Artifact cycle. So, or I guess it came out after the Brothers' War at least. So you can definitely read that late rather than worrying about it. So
we're in the action here.
JBL. Yeah, go ahead.
Jacob Van Lunen's going to start with a Despise.
Yep, right off of it.
We're going to see an Island, Inkmoth, Nexus, Plains, Manaleek, Stoneforge Mystic, Batterskull, and a Dismember, I believe that is. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, he did not have the mental misstep for it.
Very true.
He very well. He doesn't play it, but there's.
Looks like these guys are going to kind of force mental misstep to be a player in Standard. Huh?
That's actually one of my notes here. Does mental misstep see Standard play? See above 1 casting cost discard spells is actually my note here. So, that it's starting to look like it's. I mean, if you want to fight those kind of things, but then do you weaken not necessarily weaken your entire deck, but do you really want to play that just to fight the discard spells? Or
doesn't seem bad against Goblin Guide either, though.
True.
Sure would be a blowout.
Looks like Shiels had to discard his Stoneforge Mystic.
Jacob's going to preordain here.
Shiels just went with Island and passed the turn. Jacob playing the preordain and goes with a turn 2 Swamp, and looks like we're going to see an Inquisition, I think. I mean, I can't imagine what else he's tapping that Swamp for, because I don't see anything else in his hand that's black. Changed his mind, yeah. I think that was right, because he knows what's in David's hand, and I think he may want to save it.
Fortunately for us this weekend, with all of these discard spells going around, so do we. We're going to actually be able to see what's in people's hands this weekend.
Yeah.
It's like I was going to keep putting them on the table.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, I kind of looked away for a second and missed what you said, and then I realized it. And there's the Inquisition, so... And David has the opportunity to mana leak this. Is that a Spellskite in David's hand? Which may...
That would be a cause for the mana leak, yeah.
Right.
I didn't see much other reason to mana leak.
Yeah, I'm not even entirely sure.
Take Batterskull, again, only costs 2 in theory.
Right.
Jacob's going to play his Seachrome Coast, and he's going to play Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic just found a Sword of War and Peace. David just drew a Spell Pierce.
Yeah. All right, so
He's gonna
there's the...
pay the 4 life to take out the Stoneforge with a Dismember.
Yep. So there we see our first actual Dismember, I think,
Yeah.
actually being played there.
I think so, yeah. And he's going to cast that guy.
JVL
now.
just goes with the Sword of War and Peace anyway, and Seachrome Coast. So it's a really kind of interesting situation here with all this good equipment, where we see, like in the first game we watched, just a bunch of equipment sitting around with no creatures to put it on.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these decks run almost as much equipment as they have creatures.
Well, that's where something like Inkmoth Nexus comes in handy.
Exactly, the manlands.
Slams a Jace down, and
So,
that gets Spell Pierced.
Ooh, that's a good Spell
And
Pierce.
that was a bad miss.
Mental miss that may have been helpful there
Yeah.
as well.
Batterskull gets a pen. There we go. Proper. He had a pen cap on it as a token for 1 moon. It's like, come on, that is awful.
Rashad looking pretty germy over there. And I don't mean to my right, I mean on the screen. Alright, JVL with the Batterskull of his own. And I think we're going to see battling Rashads here in just a moment. Yep, there we are. At least they picked 2 different ones. The Battle of the Hats. Now JVL does have Sword of War and Peace, which can that germ can pick up if it wants to. This is where we see how good Living Weapon really is. Like, this is something I feel like Living Weapon was under the radar a little bit. Like, we kind of got slow rolled a little bit with Mirrodin Besieged. Like, Mortar Pod was obviously good. People talked a little bit about Bone Horde, played it a little bit, but now we have the real Living Weapon spells. Yeah. And David plays a Sun Titan to get back a Stoneforge Mystic. Yeah, I'll tap 6, play a 6/6 Vigilance, and draw 2 cards.
But what planet is that any good?
I don't know.
And that's Feast and Famine. I'm sorry, not Feast and Famine, the Alliance's card. Sword of Feast and Famine.
I think that card's Feast or Famine.
Feast or Famine, yeah. It's like destroy a creature or put a 2/2 zombie into play.
I don't know.
I want it for my EDH. It's a zombie token.
Fair enough. Alright, so JVL obviously right now has the option of equipping that War and Peace to his germ, which will allow it to get right by those blockers over there that David has. I think that seems like a good play.
Not the germ.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. The germ's black. You're right. I was looking at
but it will power him up over it.
Right, right.
It will make him stronger.
So he looks like he's going with that plan.
Man, if he had a Helm of Chetsuk right now, he could give his Stoneforge Mystic banding with his Sun Titan.
I'm sure that's really, it's a shame that that's not in standard, right? So here he goes, in with the Vigilant Germ, pro red, pro white, lifelink, and if it hits David, Jacob's going to be gaining some life, and David's going to be taking some damage, some more damage. That's a 6/6 Germ.
Vigilant Germ is a good name for a band, but the Germs was already a band, so
yeah.
Probably not.
So, yeah, he blocks. I think it's pretty good play here, because that Batterskull can certainly do some damage in the hands of that Stoneforge Mystic, or one of those Inkmoth Nexuses, or the Sun Titan, if David so chooses.
I'm seeing double below David's creatures. I'm wondering if
Yeah.
I'm just getting sick or something. Okay, so he blocked with the germ.
Yeah.
probably the right thing to do.
Passes the turn, so... I mean, David can go on the Inkmoth Nexus plan here and just, equip the Batterskull to an Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah.
Costs a lot of mana, but actually he would need to drop a land to do that.
Right, it's 5 to equip, right?
Right, I think so. Or is it 4 to equip? 5, okay. Yeah. So...
Violin, Feast or Famine. Feast and Famine, whatever.
Trying to arrange his mana there. And there it is. Sword of Feast and Famine.
Yes. He's going to slap it on the Sun Titan and swing right back. Oh, okay.
Activates the Inkmoth Nexus.
He's going the Inkmoth Nexus plan here.
Did you say Jacob had an Into the Royal in his hand?
I don't think I said that. I think,
No, never mind.
He doesn't even have
one
it in
his
the deck.
Never mind. I, for some reason, thought you said that. I think it's so funny how it looks like they're in 2 different rooms.
It kind of does look like they're in 2 different places.
They're playing remotely.
So there's a go for the throat for the Sun Titan. That's
pretty good.
That's really good, yeah, right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Dave is going to have much of a chance to come back at this point, frankly.
So, Inkmoth Nexus, holding a sword, in for 3. Jacob has nothing to discard.
Now, at least he can...
David now has all his mana open, but... see what he's going to do with it.
Yeah, Inkmoth becomes a...
And looks like it's going to be a... yeah, he just played a Seachrome Coast, so 1 card in David's hand.
Somebody asked on Twitter why he returned the Sword of Feast and Famine to his hand instead of the battlefield. Sun Titan returns to the table, not to the hand.
He returned the Stoneforge Mystic to the battlefield.
Right.
And
searched up the sword.
Searched for a Sword of Feast
Right.
and Famine. Right.
Right, I knew he was wrong on Twitter. I was just trying to get it right for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I was
it.
trying to clarify it for him, too.
Yeah.
If you guys want to interact with us on Twitter,
So I knew somebody had.
there's the Into the Royal that you saw.
I knew I saw one. I knew I wasn't losing my mind there.
So bounces the Germ token. Interesting choice there, but that keeps Jacob off of a creature because he knows Jacob doesn't have anything in his hands, empty-handed, no creatures. Right. So bouncing the Germ token actually makes those the Batterskull and the Sword of War and Peace pretty ineffective. Obviously, looks
now
like
he can
Jacob.
always return the Batterskull.
Yeah, he can, yeah. Which is he's got the 3 mana available now. Jacob top decks a Sword of Feast and Famine and drops it onto the table. So Jacob, empty-handed with 3 equipment, the 3 equipment in Standard: Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of War and Peace, and Batterskull, but no creatures to equip to, no manlands either on Jacob's side. David, on the other hand, has 2 Inkmoth Nexi. If any of you guys want to give me your opinion on which exactly of those is correct, feel free to tweet at us on Twitter at SCGLive.
Oh, here we go. He's going poison on it. He's got to do something.
David now with the Infect plan, getting in with 2 Inkmoth Nexi, one of which is equipped with Sword of Feast and Famine. In addition to those, David has a Stoneforge Mystic on the battlefield and a Batterskull, and now just landed a Jace the Mind Sculptor, really putting Jacob in a scoop position here. Not looking good for Jacob. So it's funny, you thought David couldn't come back after that Sun Titan, and that equipment makes a huge difference. With those Inkmoth Nexuses, the equipment makes any manland. Manlands are already good. Manlands have historically been good.
Yeah.
Mistress Factory, all the way. Look at the Urza's Legacy manlands like Tree House. tree. I can't remember the name of the land, the green one.
Treetop Village.
Treetop Village.
Yes.
Isn't like Treehouse?
Treehouse. Urza's Treehouse.
Exactly. So Urza's Legacy had Treetop Village, Fairy Conclave. Those guys obviously saw some play. And now World Wake brought us a whole new level of manlands with, the Creeping Tar Pits, the Celestial Colonnades, both of those guys being huge in the Caw-Blade and Darkblade decks. We've got Raging Ravine. We've got Stirring Wildwood not seeing as much play, and Lava Claw Reaches. So all of those guys hold equipment pretty well. The only question is, do you have enough mana to do it?
Right. Well, that's why Inkmoth Nexus is such a good choice. Yeah.
Exactly where I was going with that. So Inkmoth Nexus being only 1 to activate, and being essentially a 2/1, considering it has Infect. It just makes it so good with these equipment. And, we saw bouncing the Germ into the Royal left Jacob with all kinds of equipment and nothing to equip it to.
Yeah.
So looking at the sideboards here, Dave,
lots of weaponry and no army.
Yeah. So Dave has in his sideboard 3 Celestial Purge, 2 Day of Judgment, 2 Journey to Nowhere, 2 Divine Offering, 1 Volition Reigns, 1 additional Batterskull, a Jace Beleren, a Deprive, and 2 Flash Freeze. Looks like obviously the Purges are there probably for the Splinter Twin combo. Just wanted to note that card is starting to see a lot more play.
Yes, it is.
People more fearing the Splinter Twin combo decks.
It's not just for red decks or vampires anymore.
Yeah.
Or junk.
But it can remove a Germ if as long as it's not wearing a Sword of War and Peace.
Mm-hmm. True.
It can remove a Nighthawk.
It sure can.
You may actually have gained in value here with more people playing heavier black. It can remove a Creeping Tar Pit. So those are some options for Celestial Purge. Not sure if he wants to bring those in here, but it's certainly a possibility. Some Day of Judgment, Journey to Nowhere. The Divine Offerings definitely want to come in. That's a card. It looks like in his main deck he's not running any sort of. I'm trying to look here. Any sort of artifact destruction. So I feel like Divine Offering is very much main deckable right now. I mean, so many decks are playing the equipment. It seems like, why wouldn't you just main deck it and, you have an option to sideboard it out if you're playing against something that isn't playing equipment. But it seems like right now, there's so much equipment around. It's worth main decking. Maybe if you just main deck one and then sideboard the other, or sideboard any more that you want.
Which one? The
Divine Offering.
Yeah.
Any kind of artifact destruction.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I play a red. I mean, the only standard deck I even have together right now is a mono red deck, and I think it's gonna. I already have 2 main deck Manic Vandals. Could go up to 4.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems necessary.
Why not
right
Crush?
Manic Vandal's also a guy.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. Seems like Crush would be really.
Oh, Crush is good.
Really, I don't know. The 1 mana I think is significant. But yeah,
oh yeah,
I can see the argument for either way. I just was kind of curious.
I just like having the like if I draw 3 Crushes in a game, I'm not attacking my opponent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I draw 3 Manic Vandals, I'm killing 3 artifacts, and it's slower, but I'm still using those guys to turn sideways, which is kind of.
I think maybe a mix might be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't disagree with that for a second, but like.
And as we were saying earlier about Spellskite, you can't redirect a Crush to a Spellskite.
That's very true.
So Crush actually helps get around the whole Spellskite thing. So I think that makes it a lot more play.
So
meanwhile, JVL leads with a Swamp.
What Joey said.
I think that's where you're going.
That's what I was going to say.
David has a Seachrome Coast playing a Preordain. He sees another Coast, and I think that was an Inquisition of Kozilek. I'm not totally sure. He bottoms both of them, so it may not have been an Inquisition. May have been. I'm just
suddenly decided that card is not necessary in this matchup anymore.
Passes the turn. JVL now. It looks like he's going with the turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic would be my guess. Yeah, there it is. All right, the Mystic. Gonna go digging for some
Sword of War and Peace.
swords. Is that what you think? Sword of War and Peace. I think I agree with you. And as we were saying,
Batterskull.
both of us wrong. I should have just went with a different.
Disagreed with
just
me?
disagreed with you just for the sake of.
For consistency's sake?
It sounds good. So he gets the Batterskull. But yeah, as we were saying, JVL is an SCG Live commentator, so he's no stranger to being on SCG Live. Although I don't think has actually been on this side of the camera. At least not this season that I can remember.
I don't think so.
So David drops the Celestial Colonnade, passes the turn back to Jacob. Jacob drops a Marsh Flats, cracks it, and let's see what we got going on. Swamp, of course, and I couldn't get a good look at Jacob's hand. Not sure what his plan is here, but in most matches it seems like the plan is to violin and equipment at David's end of turn, but yeah, there we go. So that looks like the plan that Jacob's going with. Inquisition and mana up to possibly do something during David's turn, or just violin the Batterskull that he just picked up. So David has in his hand Jace the Mind Sculptor, Sword of War and Peace, Into the Royal, and 4 lands. 2 man lands, one being Colonnade, one being Inkmoth Nexus, and then he's got Glacial Fortress and Seachrome Coast. So with that Inquisition, the only legal targets are Sword of War and Peace and Into the Royal. I think he probably wants to take the sword.
Yeah, I would say so. And he doesn't.
No, he goes with the Into the Royal. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that too, because it is the Into the Royal has gives him the option to kind of set Jacob back, set him back pretty much by bouncing the.
But again, though, he's got the Inkmoth Nexus and he has the equipment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With a Batterskull on the ground, he's just going to keep flying over for 3 in effect every turn.
Good point.
Or once he gets to, a lot of mana, which obviously he's shown in his hand that he has the mana, he's going to eventually start doing it with a Colonnade.
So now Jacob vials in a Batterskull in response to David's Sword of War and Peace. And there we have Rashad. I think Rashad's seeing a lot more play in Standard with these living weapons. At least on SCG Live. Alright, so JVL looks like he's getting in with... Oh, he just cracked the fetch land.
Doesn't like the artwork on that swamp. No, just kidding. Decides to go for plains instead.
Just to give you guys an update on what's on the board, for those of you who may not be able to see, we've got JVL with 4 untapped lands here, a Batterskull equipped to a Germ, and Stoneforge Mystic, both of which just attacked.
There's our Spellskite.
And now we have our first Spellskite, courtesy of JVL. David, on his side of the board, has an Inkmoth Nexus, a Celestial Colonnade, and a Seachrome Coast, and a Sword of War and Peace, kind of waiting for something to pick it up.
But unfortunately, right now, every one of David Shiels' lands that are in his hand come into play tapped.
Except for an Inkmoth Nexus that he has.
Well, that's right, the Nexus, okay.
So he can drop Nexus, activate his other Nexus, equip his other Nexus, and get in if he so chooses.
We definitely need to get some cupcakes. Just realized that. David does play his other Nexus. So now he could equip and then You can activate Equip and swing in, but I mean Jacob has mana up for like a Doomblade wouldn't affect an Inkmoth Nexus, but he's going for it, and
All right, so there's a divine offering for David's Sword of War and Peace.
just received a great comment on Twitter that I'll say in a second. Jacob plays an island, coming in for 5 again. GK Stull, Stull on Twitter. Send your happy birthday high fives to GK Stull on Twitter. It says, not a bad birthday so far. Soccer team wins the FA Cup, now being punned to death by commentary team. Oh, and cake. So, hey, hope you're having an awesome birthday so far.
David drops Jace the Mind Sculptor.
See, now your birthday plug will be on the recording that you can go back and show people. That was the point.
And a Brainstorm from David. Sees 3 lands, I think?
I think so,
Wow.
Yeah. That's brutal.
He's got Bellerin and then just a bunch of lands. Wow, is that a sword? What is that? Trying to tell what was behind that.
This looks like a rough day for David, or at least this game seems rough for David. Of course, I said that last
really
game
flooded.
too.
Yeah, I know.
And he came right back and won. So,
but right now he's got a bunch of lands and a dead spell, and
yeah,
thought he had a sword in his hand, but I kind of don't think it was a sword.
he has a whole lot of no fun in his hand right now.
All
But he's
right,
up the
so
game.
JBL looks like he is possibly vialing something in. He tapped his stone. Well, he did. Yeah. Okay. So he's trying to get some more equipment here. He bounces his own Stoneforge. And, of course, draws another one. Right. He was...
Hope you're not sick of Stoneforge Mystic yet.
Batterskull...
You got 6 more months of it.
Batterskull Germ gets in and kills Jace the Mind Sculptor. And JVL drops the Stoneforge Mystic. Trying to get some more equipment here. And now do we go with Sword of War and Peace? Yeah, there it is.
Jacob's shaking his head for. He's at 33 life.
Yeah. And there's Sword of War and Peace. For the full 3, obviously, with the can't vial it in yet. Figures may as well pay for it now. Pay full price. I think it's still a bargain.
Yeah.
David just flooded entire. He brainstormed with Jace and has no way to shuffle away at the top. Yeah, I think what I thought was a sword is actually an island.
Great.
So there's a Jace Bellerin. At least he can get a little deeper into his deck if JVL lets him.
He should go for the decking strategy at this point.
Yeah,
Start
right.
+2 in Jace.
Draw a Seachrome Coast. He does have the colonnades now, so he's got a lot of manlands that he can start to use if he wanted to.
But by the time he gets him
attacking.
active, this guy's going to be
meanwhile,
white.
he's dead. Yeah. Meanwhile, JVL just has guys all over the place. So, in for another poison. JVL just 20% sick right now.
somebody has asked us to stop using violin when people use Stoneforge.
Okay.
Well, if you knew what we were talking about, then we don't really have to stop doing it, do we?
Fair enough. We'll try to be more accurate. Forge in. Does that make sense?
Forged it in to play. I mean, like, that's like trying to get me to stop saying EDH. It's never going to happen. So
well, I'll try.
I appreciate you're right. You know, it's not accurate, but it's probably what we're going to say all weekend, despite our efforts. He just tried to put something up to the camera, but we weren't. Oh, okay.
Okay. Left in the board. So, you seem to not like Stoneforge Mystic.
No, not at all.
So we went from what? Ban Jace to ban Stoneforge now?
Well, I never thought they should ban Jace.
Well, not you. I mean, just we as a community. I mean,
I don't even know if the whole community is saying it, but like, I mean, just watch today.
Well, just because it's showing up. I mean, this weekend.
I'm telling you.
Give the new set a chance.
No. This I'm telling you right now. This is Worldwake all over again. Worldwake came out. You're like, ooh, look at all these cards. Stoneforge Mystic came out with Worldwake. So did Jace. And everyone's like, oh, those cards are neat. Totally gonna use this when Jund rotates. Like, and
so you're basically saying people just continue to play Jund.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I mean, but the difference is, Jund didn't really get more powerful with the release of Worldwake. You know what I mean? Like, with this set and with those two new equipments, and you know which ones I'm talking about, Batterskull and War and Peace. Stoneforge Mystic, I think, is easily the strongest card we've seen in Standard since like Disciple of War. Like, I think it's just the most busted card. I think anyone who's not playing 4 copies of it in their deck is not going to do as well as people who are. Because the people who are can search up the answer to whatever the other person's playing. And Wizards has a history of banning tutors before they ban anything else. So, I think frankly, if you want to see a diverse Standard format, I think that card needs to go.
See, I do disagree with you.
I know,
but I don't think your points are necessarily wrong. I think the thing is we just got a new set, so it's unlikely to get banned at this point. I think we'll have to see what happens with Worldwake. Like, I loved Worldwake. I didn't like Jund, and I loved what Worldwake gave me, because it gave me the opportunity to play the kind of deck that I wanted to play. And Blue-White Control was pretty strong against Jund, so maybe it didn't kill Jund, but it gave people other decks to play. And I'm just giving you one example. So
all I'm saying is the people
gives people more decks to play that can compete. Maybe they don't. Maybe it doesn't mean that Callblade gets weaker, and in fact may get stronger.
Definitely gets stronger.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't make the format more diverse.
I just think the people who are on the bandwagon, if you will, are on the bandwagon for all the wrong reasons. You know? The people who are saying that a card needs to be banned are saying to ban Jace. But they did. I mean, they literally just printed like 3 direct answers to Jace, at least in the new set. You know,
right?
And we've always
we don't even need to discuss the Jace thing because it's been discussed to death. But
it's whatever. But I think that everyone's just missing what is actually the most powerful card in the format.
Okay. So yeah, I mean,
and I just think that it's inaccurate. I think that
I think. While I see your points, and it is obviously a strong card, and I won't be surprised if it gets banned, I think it's very likely that, like, right now we have a whole new set, and by the time this set the format shakes out with the new set being incorporated into it,
it'll be
another new set will be about to come out.
No, but I'm saying by the time the format actually shakes out, like with the new set being relevant, will be in October.
What about M12?
It's going to be like.
How do you know what M12 has? You don't even have any idea what M12 is going to bring us that may invalidate or
maybe
completely. You know, that's what I'm saying. We don't even know what we could have coming up.
But by then, we'll already have had 2 months of this Standard format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think is enough, like what happened with Affinity. You know, like
Well,
spending that
you're
much time not doing.
You're just
anything.
assuming that these 2 months are going to go, you know, the call blade route. Like
Yeah.
it's-
Oh yeah.
So that's.
Definitely.
I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think there's a lot of new options, and even if you're right, I think another new set will become. You know, by the time we realize, or by the time it becomes really clear, that we'll have a whole new set to affect the format again and mix things up again. And if, you know, by the time that shakes out, Stoneforge will be rotating. It'll be pointless to ban it.
Sure. Well, as I often do, I'm going to go out on a limb
It's all good.
and have a strong opinion on this.
So,
He's
David-
like, whatever you just tapped 1 for, I am spell piercing.
yeah. David leads with an island, and JVL leads with a marsh flats, grabbing a swamp, which he taps and attempts to despise. Probably announced it as despise before actually putting it in.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We didn't
And
hear
then
that.
David spell pierced it, so I think it would have been pretty funny if JVL was like, well, I guess I'll choose the other black one casting off spell in my hand that I didn't want to play.
Vampire Lacerator, you can't spell pierce that, Judge. Chewy from the Mana Pool podcast, which is an awesome podcast, says, can't pull myself away from SCG Florida coverage by SCG Live with the UMTCG Taps crew. Have stuff to do today. Curse my metal body.
So, I missed what was in his hand. JVL managed to resolve an Inquisition. David now with a Stoneforge Mystic, grabbing a Batterskull. So right now we have David with an Island and a Celestial Colonnade, and a fresh Stoneforge Mystic searching for a Batterskull. JVL has a Creeping Tar Pit and a Swamp in play. David now drops a Glacial Fortress, and appears to be about to pass the turn, and he does, yeah. Alright, JVL draws a Preordain here. Looks like he's going to try it. Resolves, sees an Inquisition and a Colonnade, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, it's Colonnade. And looks like he's going with bottom. He wants that Inquisition, I think. But he knows he can't take the Batterskull. And he goes bottom, I think. Yep. And he gets a... Oh no, he put the Colonnade on top. Put the Inquisition on the bottom.
Unless he just drew one off the top.
Yeah. I feel like he grabbed it without looking and put it into play, so... Pretty sure he put it on
right.
top. Didn't realize his hand was light on mana, or that he needed the Colonnade. So, and David goes with a Jace the Mind Sculptor. So again,
Here he's better than all.
yeah. For those of you just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco here with Big Head Joe. We are Yo MTG Taps, covering the StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Orlando, Florida. We're in round 3 watching SCG Live commentator JVL, Jacob Van Lunen, playing against David Shiels, another rising star.
Not David Shields from Love and Rockets, but
Not at all. So these guys are playing something of a mirror match, although David is playing more kind of common sort of Darkblade, while JVL is playing a heavier black version of Darkblade, cutting the Squadron Hawks. JVL resolved the Jace Bellerin to Legend Rule David's Jace the Mind Sculptor, but David just follows up with a second Jace the Mind Sculptor. So on David's side of the board, we have 2 islands, a Colonnade, a Tectonic Edge, and a Glacial Fortress, which is currently untapped. Stoneforge Mystic, which I think just got in for 1, and then a Jace the Mind Sculptor, which I think is the key card right now. JVL with only 3 lands in play, and now a 4th with a Seachrome Coast, just played, gets a Vampire Nighthawk. Now this is a different kind of hawk. This is the hawk that replaced the Squadron Hawks.
Yes.
Another strong card, not quite as much card advantage, but a much stronger creature. We saw earlier in an earlier round the Nighthawk holding a Sword of War and Peace, and that was that was pretty huge.
Although, I mean, this seems to be a tough spot for Jacob right now because you couldn't just keep bouncing that.
Yeah, I mean,
Nighthawk.
right? Jacob's in a tough spot in general.
Yeah. Is your thing working? I can't get mine. Is it?
So there's the Squadron Hawks that JVL has cut from his list. Now, several players are playing this list. I'm not sure who is the innovator behind it, and I don't mean Patrick Chapin necessarily, but there are definitely more people playing the Nighthawk version of Darkblade.
Creeping Corrosion seems like it would be a fun card to play right now. Not right now in this situation right here, but like I mean, like in the past couple of games, we've seen like 3 artifacts on each side of the field. You know, at least seems like that would be fun. But
so I believe JVL just tried to play a Preordain, and it may have gotten spell pierced. JVL with just a Jace Bellerin. Oh no, it resolved. Okay. I see what looks like a Spell Pierce over to the bottom of David's screen. Does that look like Spell Pierce to you? I thought that's what happened.
Maybe it's into the Royal.
But that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
So,
hey, at least
JVL
I got it right. Who
preordains
has
into
the Royals this time?
JVL preordains into a Stoneforge Mystic, which he promptly plays, resolves, and gets what looks like a Sword of War and Peace beyond that glare. Kind of see a little strip of the card there. And the Nighthawk coming at Jace the Mind Sculptor. David looking a lot better than he was last game, where he was entirely mana flooded.
Yeah, pretty rough.
And David forges in a Batter Skull off of his Stoneforge Mystic at the end of JBL's turn, so.
He forges a Batter Skull as if by stone, or as if from stone. Mystically forges a Batter Skull from stone at the end of turn.
I think you're fine with just forge.
I was fine with vile until we got corrected.
It's looking pretty bad for JVL right now. He's got, on his side of the board, he's got Stoneforge Mystic, a tapped Vampire Nighthawk, and he's tapped out his Seachrome Coast, Swamp, and Social Colonnade, all tapped right now. On David's side of the board, however, 6 lands, all untapped, a Stoneforge Mystic, a Squadron Hawk, a Batter Skull equipped to a Germ, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor. About half of which would be pretty good right now in considering Jacob's side of the board. But he's just brainstormed off of his Jace, and Batter Skull. Looks like Batter Skull's coming into Rumble, and David's trying to determine what else he wants to.
He's going to always activate a Colonnade too.
Yeah, he's got enough mana to activate a Colonnade.
Right now, get through.
Looks like he just went with the Batter Skull. And there's another Squadron Hawk added to David's side of the board. And draws or searches his library, searches the top 2 cards of his library for the other 2 Squadron Hawks because he just put them back with Jace. Just showing you that interaction. I mean, we've had it now for a while, but it's just such a strong play. It's like Ancestral Recall. And there we go with a 3rd Squadron Hawk. So it's looking really bad for JVL. And draws his card. Didn't quite see what it was. It may have been that Darkflix Shores, which isn't going to help him too much this turn.
God. Just realizing how far behind JVL is right now.
Yeah, I mean,
3 lands in play to David's 7.
It's really bad.
Which was a big problem for David last game, but
yeah,
it seems like
he's just having the threats makes all the difference.
Right.
I mean,
it's just lands, then it's not as threatening as if it's lands and lots of other stuff.
Nice.
4th land comes into play tapped.
Yeah, that's not the land he wants right now, but there's nothing. Right now, it's just really nothing you can do about it. Now, he does have a Divine Offering in hand, I believe, and Into the Royal. So he's got some cards to buy him time. He's got his own Stoneforge Mystic, I believe, and also a Sword of War and Peace, and additional Vampire Nighthawk. So, yeah, pretty sure. Maybe he doesn't have Divine Offering? I thought I saw Divine Offering. Yeah, I think that's Divine Offering right at the bottom of his hand, which he does not seem to want to flip to the front. So there's a Dismember, the better Snuff Out, possibly?
It's pretty rough.
A relative of Snuff Out to take out the Vampire Nighthawk. David happy to make use of the 4 life he just gained off of that Batterskull.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of lifelink happening in these last couple matches. Batterskull, Sword of War and Peace, Vampire Nighthawk. Obviously, Sword of War and Peace isn't lifelink per se, but gains you life all the same. Almost all the same.
All the almost the same.
Yeah, gonna Fate Sealed Jacob with the Jace. And it looks like he's leaving it on top. At least he had to think about it for a second, so maybe JVL can make use of whatever it is. But it's unlikely, considering David left it on top. David's a pretty good player. Now, I mentioned earlier that he's a rising star. For those of you who don't remember, he won GP Dallas Fort Worth recently with Callblade. So David adding a little black to the deck, but which we're not even seeing right now. Looks like a traditional blue-white Callblade list right now, but obviously a good pilot, a very
there we go.
very able pilot. And
He
yeah,
returned
JBL,
he returned the Batterskull to his hand in response to the Divine Offering.
yeah,
And that was about it.
and